Using the built-in help and updating a brand new installation. There's a lot of times that you and I are going to be at the command line, about to type in a command and think to ourselves, what was the syntax for that again? Wouldn't it be great if there's some kind of an online or built-in help that could assist us? The answer is there is. In this video, we're going to take a look at exactly how to leverage that and how to keep our system up to date with the latest software. Let's begin. I still remember when I was younger, somebody shared with me a quote. It went something like, if you give a person a fish, they'll eat for a day. If you teach them how to fish, they could eat for a lifetime. And I remember thinking back at the time I first heard that, I thought, well, what if they live in the desert? Now, with a little more wisdom and time under my belt, I realized the importance of that concept. So how exactly does that apply to us in the world of Backtrack? Well, we're running on top of a Linux distribution, and there's a lot of commands that are just native to Unix, and there's also a lot of commands that are specific for the Backtrack tools that we'll be learning. And one of the ways that we can learn how to fish is realize that there are documentation inside of the operating system for lots of the commands that we'll be dealing with. For example, let's say there's a command called apt-get, which we'll get to in just a moment, and we wanted to know more details about the program called apt-get. We could type in man space the word apt-get, press enter, and that'll bring up the manuals, the man pages, if you will, on that topic. And you can use the arrow to scroll through them and read as much as you want. So the next step is, let's say we know what the command does, but we're not sure of the actual syntax, the options and the parameters that need to follow that command. We could type in the actual command itself, and many of the commands, if you just type them in and press enter, they'll know that they're missing parameters, and they'll give you a list of the valid options and parameters that you can enter. For some commands, you might have to add a -h or a -help or a -help. So usually, one of these options is going to give you the syntax help at the CLI, that's the command line interface at the Linux box, and the man pages will give you the full documentation regarding that command. Another really cool thing that's going to help you and I quite a bit in this Nugget series is updating our software. Now, apt-get, the advanced package tool, the apt-get program will give us the option of downloading updates and then installing those updates, which is fantastic. And I would strongly recommend, if you're going through this series with me step by step, I'm going to go ahead and run this here in a moment. I'll demo that because I want the software that I'm running to be identical to the software you're running. That way, all the commands, the switches, and the syntax should be virtually identical if you want to mirror these exercises. So let's take a look at using apt-get, but before we run that, let's go ahead and take a look at the man pages for it. To bring up the man pages, you simply type in man space, the name of the program, you press enter. Down here at the bottom, it's indicating where we are, and you can use the arrow key to simply scroll up and down. So here's the apt-get command. It has boatloads of different options, including an option that says update, which is pretty cool right here. Now, after we do the update, we can then do the upgrade, which will actually install that newest version of software. And it is a general recommendation that we update periodically just to keep current. One of the challenges is, okay, how do I get out of these man pages? And the way you get out is with the letter Q, as in quiet. Just hit the Q key on your keyboard, and that will take you right back to the CLI. So let's say we want to run apt-get, and we're thinking, oh, I just read the man pages, but what was that syntax again to actually implement it? We just type in apt-get space -help. You can also just type in apt-get, press enter, and it will say, oh, you forgot something, and it gives you the help screen for it. So this right here is help on help, saying the -h brings up help for apt-get. So here's some commands that we just looked at in the man pages. We've got the update, and we've also got upgrade, and a boatload of other options that are available as parameters associated with the apt-get command. Now, in a previous nugget, we already verified that name resolution was working. We also verified that internet connectivity was working. So let's go ahead and do an update. We are going to need live access to get this done. So we'll do an apt-get space update, press enter. So now that we've done the update, let's go ahead and run the apt-get with the upgrade option to take any of these packages where there's a newer version available and have it go ahead and install that newer version for us. So to do that, we'll just use apt-get one more time, except this time we'll use the upgrade option and press return. So it's provided us a little summary, and now it's asking for permission to go ahead and do it. I'm going to type in Y for yes and press enter. Now this update could take quite a while, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause the recording, and when it's done, before I type in anything extra, at the CLI on the Backtrack machine, I will go ahead and pick the recording back up and we'll continue on together. So it is complete. Now, behind the scenes, that was about 30 minutes of clock time between the time I started with the actual upgrade until it said I'm completely done downloading all the software and installing it. In this video, you and I have taken a look at the concept of learning how to fish. What I'm talking about is learning how to use the help that is right at our fingertips. The man pages are terrific. If we issue a command and then use one of these options at the end, it's very likely that command is going to give us the syntax for completing that command. We also looked at getting our systems current by using apt-get. Now, to put all these together, here's what I'd like you to do. Now, a few videos ago, we took a look at installing Backtrack. I hope you've done that as practice. We also took a look in another video at connecting to the network and configuring an IP address. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to practice all of these options with apt-get. So, for example, on your Backtrack system, type in apt-get space and then maybe a -h for help. Or go ahead and use the man pages for it. Type in man space apt-get. And remember, when you get into the man pages to get out, you just hit Q. The letter Q on your keyboard exits out of the man page and puts you back at the command line interface. The last thing I'd love for you to do is go ahead and use apt-get to update your system. So to use apt-get, it's apt-get space, that's my little character for a space, update, and then apt-get again, another space, and upgrade. And you will absolutely want to make sure that you have name resolution working for internet resources and internet connectivity for these steps. Otherwise, it won't be possible for it to download the list and download the software to bring your system up to speed. Another benefit of doing this at this point is that any of the commands that we're going to be doing together and the penetration testing and the attacks and everything else that we're going to be doing together, if you and I are on the exact same version of those tools, it'll be a lot easier for you to replicate exactly what you see me do in these nuggets. I'm having a great time. I'm glad you joined me. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.